In 2024, the world watched as a new generation of protesters in Bangladesh successfully toppled a government. When these young activists take to the streets, they are hailed globally as the vanguard of democracy and transparency. We see the same validation in Kenya, where youth-led movements forced the withdrawal of major finance bills. In the eyes of global media, these aren't just crowds, they are political activists fighting for their rights. But consider what happens when that exact same demographic shifts its focus. What if they organized a peaceful, non-violent movement to establish an Islamic Khilafah in a Muslim-majority country? The terminology changes instantly. Instead of being called activists, they are labeled as threats. Instead of being celebrated, they are jailed. The non-violent nature of the protest is ignored, and the world characterizes their goal as a regression rather than a choice. This double standard points to a hidden consensus. It's the result of an intellectual framework implemented globally since 1835, a design intended to standardize human thought and ensure that morality is only validated when it remains within secular, human-made boundaries. This framework has been the standard for over 6 or 7 generations. It's an education system that trains us to believe that logic and progress only exist within the metrics we create for ourselves. We run into a problem when we use these localized human metrics to analyze concepts that are, by definition, beyond us, like God, justice, or the afterlife. Because the divine doesn't fit into our specific box, we conclude that the divine itself is illogical. This creates a subtle form of confirmation bias. We reject any truth that challenges our training, not because the truth is flawed, but because it doesn't align with the specific programming we've inherited since 1835. To find objective answers, we have to recognize that our current way of thinking is just one specific system, and we have the right to look beyond it. Consider the common argument that if God is truly independent and self-sustaining, he shouldn't care if humans commit shirk or associate partners with him. If he needs nothing, why would he punish it? Our modern logic assumes that punishment is only justified when there is a personal injury. We conclude that because we cannot harm God, he has no reason to punish us. But divine law isn't a reaction to a wounded ego. It's an architecture of justice. God establishes these laws to maintain order and purpose within human civilization, not to defend himself. Shirk is viewed as the ultimate injustice because it severs humanity's objective moral anchor. When that anchor is gone, society loses the basis for all other forms of justice, leading to the oppression we see today. The punishment for shirk protects humans from their own chaos. It isn't a sign of God's vulnerability. We see a similar tension in the question of birth. Is it fair for someone born into a non-Muslim family to face a different spiritual outcome than someone born to Muslims? In this life, we see inequality and accident. But the concept of the divine court assumes a standard of justice that is not visible on the street or in a police station. It is a judicial process that accounts for every individual's specific context. This is why there is a clear exception for those who genuinely never received the message, like uncontacted tribes. Divine justice does not punish based on a lack of information. However, for those with access to knowledge, the intellect becomes a responsibility. We are required to use our faculty of reason to question our environment and seek the truth, even if it contradicts our upbringing. Just as a person born into a criminal family must eventually choose to reject theft and violence, we are expected to follow truth over tradition once we recognize the difference. Then there is the question of certainty. If an eternal God knows exactly what you will do tomorrow, can you really claim you chose to do it? We struggle with this because we think in terms of before and after, but God exists outside of this timeline. He is not predicting the future, he is observing an eternal present. Knowing an outcome with absolute certainty doesn't mean you forced it. If I watch a recording of a game, I know who wins, but my knowledge didn't influence the players on the field. God's knowledge of our path is a reflection of his timelessness, not a negation of our freedom to walk it. Finally, critics often point to rituals like circling the Kaaba, claiming they are no different from the idolatry practiced by other faiths. But the logic of the act is found in its intent. The Kaaba is a focal point for unity, a direction used to worship an unseen creator who is not contained within it. Idolatry, by contrast, attempts to shrink the infinite creator into a physical proxy that humans can control or possess. One act is submission to an ultimate reality. The other is submission to a human-made invention. If we only ever think within the boundaries of our own society, we risk becoming like a frog in a well. If the frog doesn't know there's a city outside his well, he'll believe his small patch of water is the entire world. Many of us believe we've achieved intellectual freedom by adopting a trendy agnosticism, but we may just be moving to a different corner of the same well. True courage is acknowledging that our human-made metrics might be the very thing limiting our sight. It means being willing to look at the world through a lens that isn't provided by our immediate culture. The difficulties we find in theology are often just the result of applying a localized 19th century logic to a reality that spans all of time. If we step outside the framework we were given, we might find that the truth isn't contradictory. It's simply bigger than the system we were trained to use. Seek the truth, wherever it leads.